Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Today's chapters are Numbers 13 and Matthew chapter 18. And both these chapters concern what we believe to be true about ourselves, about what people think about us, and our prospects for the future. That's what these chapters are essentially about. Chapter 13 of Numbers is that famous text of Moses sending out the 12 spies, one from each of the tribes, into the land that God had promised them. He sent them into the valleys. And he said, go and look at the towns that they're living in. Look at the fruit that they have. Look at the type of soil. Do they have trees? Is it grasslands? What is it? And remember, the 10 came back saying, it's a land flowing with milk and honey. They're carrying on a pole this massive pile of grapes. But they said, but listen, they are the sons of Anak guarding it. There are giants guarding it. We're going to get taken out. In fact, this is what they say about themselves. Verse 32, we are like grasshoppers in their eyes, and they see us as grasshoppers in their eyes. We're like little grasshoppers. What do you see yourself as? You're a little grasshopper. Are you a victim? Are you always going to be in trouble? Have you missed out on life? There's a man there a little while ago. He said, I want to get divorced. I said, why? He said, because I'm tired of being married to option C. I said, what do you mean you're married to option C? That's the wife of your youth. He says, no, I made a big mistake. I should have married option A. God gave me a second chance, and I didn't marry option B either, so I married option C, and it's been hell. I mean, he had beautiful children from that marriage, and he had somehow convinced himself of the lie that his life was substandard. What do you believe about yourself? Because they're the other two spies. You see, the one that came back was Joshua, who'd got that new name. Moses had called him Joshua, deliverer. He comes back and says, yeah, we can take those giants. We can walk into the land. And then there's obviously Caleb, that wide-eyed warrior who'd say, come on, give them to me. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. And democracy ruled sadly for those Israelites, and they wandered around walking in the desert because they had this view of themselves as grasshoppers, and that the enemy were the victors and they were the victims. God's intent from the moment you give your life to Him is that you live with Him and you walk into inheritance that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived. You're His chosen possession. He calls you His treasured possession. If we hop into the next chapter, which is today, Matthew chapter 18, we see the disciples coming to Jesus asking this question. Who's the greatest? Who do you think we are? And what do other people think about us? And where do we fit in the whole economy of things? You see, they're asking this question. What do people think about us? Jesus calls a child and He says, this is what's valuable. People throw it away. People might throw you away, but this is what God sees as valuable. He says, you touch this child. You better put a millstone around your neck and jump into the ocean. It'll be better for you than what will happen to you. And then He tells a story about a sheep wandering across on a mountain, getting lost. And He says, look, when the farmer goes and he finds that sheep and he brings him back, he's more excited about that sheep than every other one. He says, listen, those of you who are thinking ill of yourselves, the lost ones, the ones that have wandered away, listen, if you're listening to me today and you feel like you're lost, you feel like you've wandered away, you feel like you're living in option C, you feel like, if I look down the valley now, it's all misty and gloomy. Winter's coming. If you feel like that, God says to you, you're His treasured possession. A child is precious to Him. A wandering sheep is precious. You are like Zechariah says, the apple of His eye. And then he tells this story about, he moves the narrative to forgiveness. You see, unforgiveness is essentially you believing that someone has done you an injustice, and possibly they have done you an injustice, but you hold it in your heart. They're the enemy. I'm a victim. I shouldn't actually let them off this because I've been unjustly handled. That's unforgiveness.